Hi, I'm Michael Swinford. Welcome to this edition of the Veteran Voice. We're very fortunate today to have an organization with us that's been very prominent in the news lately. So stay tuned. We'll meet these fine gentlemen. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to this edition of the Veteran Voice. We have some fine gentlemen today from the Coast Guard, and you guys have been busy. Is that an understatement?
Yes, sir. Definitely an understatement.
Well, what all have you been doing lately?
As far as here in Paducah, our main missions have been with all the flood water that's coming down from the Tennessee. If you recently been watching the news, you know that Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake were closed down.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been basically dealing with a lot of, recreational questioning and why are you closing down the lakes and, kind of question and answer kind of deal. And then opening them back up, making sure everything is spot on for industry and the boating public.
And not to mention our neighbors just to the south and east a little bit, Nashville, they had one weekend where they had over 18 inches of rain in one weekend. Wow. So that just flooded the river there and flooded lots of parts of the downtown area. So our unit was one of them that was called to the area to help out.
Well, would you all identify yourself and your rank and how long you've been in the service, something about your service background? Tom?
All right. Well, I joined the Coast Guard in 2003, so I've been in a little over 7 years now. And after boot camp in New Jersey, my first station was up in Maine, South Portland, Maine, on a buoy tender called the Marcus Hanna, and I was a non-rate at that time, and so just working buoy deck work and stuff like that, and maintenance on all the aids to navigation between Portland, Maine, and into Boston Harbor and up all the tributary rivers. So I had a good experience there. Went to A school in Yorktown, Virginia, and after that, my first station after school was down in Savannah, Georgia, Marine Safety Unit Savannah, and did 4 years there, and now I'm on my tour here in Paducah at the Marine Safety Unit Paducah.
So you've had a vast array of experience in many different parts of the country.
Definitely.
Peyton, how about you?
My name's Peyton Ware. I'm a boatswain's mate, 3rd class. Native of New Jersey, got into the Coast Guard in 2006, went to boot camp in Cape May. From there, I went to the lovely island of Kodiak, Alaska, and I got on a medium endurance cutter and basically went up and dealt with the deadliest catch guys, doing fisheries, crab fisheries, and patrolling the maritime boundary line between us and Russia, and also exclusive economic zones for our fishing.
What is the primary function of the Coast Guard? What is your main purpose for being in existence?
This is basically the safety and stewardship of the boating public and commercial entity throughout the world, basically.
Are you primarily concerned with the coast of the United States?
No, sir. We actually operate all over the world. During Operation Iraqi Freedom, we were down in Southeast Asia, working in Bahrain, doing port security, safety in that area. We have many different kind of safety and security teams that travel all over the world and do various types of missions. We do a lot of fishery control, which is basically making sure that all the fisheries are going to be within regulations so we don't overfish the waters. And we also do a lot of drug interdiction, which keeps our streets safe and our kids clean.
Why did you decide to choose the Coast Guard, Tom?
I chose the Coast Guard originally because I wanted to return to a life-saving job. I lifeguarded back in summers between high school years and wanted to kind of get back into that role, but then I eventually landed in the marine safety aspect of the Coast Guard, as opposed to the search and rescue.
And Peyton, what caused you to wake up one day and think, I'm going to join the Coast Guard?
Well, I initially came in, with the idea of I wanted to be a Marine, and it was in 2006, and I just got my associate's degree in college, and I was ready to go see the world, and I wasn't ready to, settle down and get into a job yet. So little did I know that I was getting into a big job. So I, went to the Armed Forces, department to sign up, and went looking around at some literature, and came home, told my parents I was like, it would be a Marine, and they said, yeah, that's great. You might want to look at some other armed forces though, because it'd kill your mother if you got blown up or something. So luckily my neighbor was in the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and he took me to a station and showed me around, and I got to see the law enforcement side of things, which is what I went to college for. And I really enjoyed it, and wanted to pursue it further.
Well, this is going to be confession day apparently, because I'm an old Navy guy, as you know, and we always perceived, and don't hit me now, but we always perceived the Coast Guard as being the other guys. We had no clue really what you did or what an impact you have on our safety and our security. If I'm not mistaken, there were Coast Guard boats in Vietnam or off the coast of Vietnam, and the traditional white boats that you all have, or ships, they painted them a different dark color so they wouldn't be so identifiable. Now that's just my memory 40 years ago, but I do remember them. But as a Navy person, I think we were somehow confused about what you all really did. And I'm glad we've had this opportunity to inform me, if nothing else, because I'm sure I've had some misconceptions about what the Coast Guard does. Or do you patrol the waterways in them? Do you go all the way across the United States and up and down?
Although the coast gets the majority of the publicity, the Coast Guard is charged with patrolling the rivers that travel throughout the states, and the Western River System, Inland River System, that supports interstate commerce. And that's kind of where we come in, because we want to ensure the safety and security of that commerce, and promote that mission as much as possible.
If you go down to the river today and you see a water ski or whatever making circles and running around, swimmers or fishermen or whatever, would that be something that you would step in and say, hey, you guys can't be doing that? Do you have a set of laws that you go by on water that, just like we do have on land with state troopers and whatnot? Do you have that same sort of setup?
Yes. What we do is we enforce federal regulations as far as safety and security goes. There's two sides of it. There's commercial and there's recreational. When you get into commercial, you get into the towing industry that's around Paducah, and the fishing industry that's out on the coasts. Now, as far as recreational goes, depending on the size of your vessel, you only have to have certain items. And then we just come on there to make sure you have those items, and as long as you're not, operating negligently, it should never be a problem. And it's just go about your business.
Do you have police powers? I mean, can you ticket, or arrest depending on the situation?
Depending on the violations, yes, sir, we can.
That's one of the things that makes the Coast Guard a unique service, because we are considered one of the 5 armed services of the country, but also we have civilian law enforcement powers as well. And also we're fortunate to work with other agencies, such as the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. They're present on the lakes, and in conjunction with them, that's how we can enforce the average recreational boater, skier, whatnot, and just ensure their safety and security.
Do you have priority power to check out the waterways? I mean, you're the main dog in the fight?
As far as on the waterways?
Yeah.
I won't say we're the main dog. We do a lot of joint operations. Yes, we have a lot of authority and jurisdiction on the waterways. We don't claim we own it, but we're there to enforce all the laws that are applicable to the federal regulations we impose upon.
If, for example, the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife guys already have a boat on the water and there happens to be an incident, they might be able to respond quicker than we can, get out there
Yeah.
ourselves. So we work in conjunction.
What kind of ships do you have in this area?
Here we have two 25 RBS response boats, basically twin 225 Honda outboard engines, and it's a fun little boat to drive. That's what I do.
And then along with that, we have what they call the DART, Disaster Area Response Team. We call them the DART boats, and they're basically John boats, real shallow draft, kind of smaller horsepower engines on those, and those were actually used down in Nashville recently to help evacuate people from their residences or hotels, wherever they may have been not able to get out of themselves.
So you can just about get in anywhere.
Yes.
At the Nita Rising.
And that's what's unique about our area, District 8. The interior of the United States this is the only place in the Coast Guard you'll find DART teams is in D8. And the unfortunate incident in 2006 with Katrina, we were another one of the responding units that from all of District 8 responded to that, and those boats saved a lot of lives.
Yeah. Do you have to investigate, like a person commits suicide, jumps off a bridge or something? Can you get involved in that?
Yes, we can. Any incident that involves a marine accident, a marine casualty, we are also responsible for investigating the cause and basically trying to learn how that can be avoided in the future. And then speaking about different vessels in the area, we can't forget to mention there are river tenders. For example, down in Paris Landing, Tennessee, they have a river tender there, as well as down near Hickman. They're responsible for maintaining the aids to navigation that you see along the river, marking the channel, the shipping
So you have
channels.
to go out and change buoys sometimes, or?
Well, sometimes they'll call us and they'll say, we do a lot of conjunction with industry, and they'll call us, and if they're aids to navigation, say they're having some incidences where they're bumping, rubbing against the banks of the river, saying their aids are off, then we go and we check, do some soundings and some draft checks, and if it's out of conjunction, we let the buoy tender know, and they come out and they fix the string of buoys, so it's back into the channel.
Well, Tom, how involved are you all with the environment? Is that a major part of what you try to do and protect? And
Definitely. That's one of the missions of the Coast Guard is environmental protection and stewardship.
Yeah. How large a unit do you have in the Paducah area, approximately?
Here, I would say active duty around
So 25.
25 members, and then the reserve side complements that number.
What's your highest ranking officer that you have here in Paducah?
A commander.
A commander?
Yes, that's our commanding officer. That's her rank is commander. Commander Gelzer is her name.
I was watching TV not long ago and I nearly fell out of my chair. It was talking about the Coast Guard and the SEALs. And I was trying to put this in my own mind because I know the SEALs are the Navy, and I couldn't figure out if they'd crossed over and helped the Coast Guard, and then I found out they were real SEALs, water aquatic SEALs, and that you all had been using those, in fact, since Vietnam. And these SEALs can go up under a bridge and detect an explosive device and pull it out to safety. And do you know anything at all about those programs that they have involving, animals or fish in the water?
Not myself. I am not aware of the Coast Guard's use of SEALs for detection.
I would imagine that's a very top secret type thing, but it was intriguing nonetheless. If they can train these SEALs to do that, then that might save some lives, especially with the tourists like they are, or the terrorists like they are today.
Right.
I mean, they're trying to find any entrance to this country that they can and cause mayhem. But what do you see the Coast Guard becoming in 20 years?
Same thing I could see it being for the last 200, just the upkeep of maritime safety and stewardship throughout this country and, all nations that we are friends with.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of cross training. Work with the British Life Saving Service, and in fact, in Yorktown, they do a lot of training with other countries' coast guards throughout the entire world, and they actually come to us for guidance on how to run their division of the Coast Guard in their country.
What is the biggest ship that the Coast Guard has? Do you know? I mean, is it like a destroyer or anything like that?
Well, we have two different kind of big ships. We had the icebreakers that were out up in Seattle. They're still there. They're dry docked us right now, but we just came out with a new class. It's what, the Freedom class?
Right. Yes, they serve different roles than the icebreakers. They're kind of in charge of helping commerce continue on their way, even when that passage might be iced in. And then the patrol boats, they have the various missions, different parts of the world. I think their focus is more law enforcement.
See, when I was a kid, I'd heard tales of the Ohio River here in Paducah freezing over, and they were driving Model Ts across from Paducah to Metropolis and Brookport and back. Mm-hmm. I don't think it'll ever get that bad again, but we would need your icebreaker probably to come in here and take care of business.
Definitely. Well, they'll come down from the Great Lakes perhaps for that.
Well, it sounds like you have a very exciting job and very necessary job. I would hate to think what we could do or not do unless you guys were out there. I'm partial to the Navy, that's natural, but we're limited into what we can do. We have big ships for big projects, and we can't cover all the inlands and all this. I mean, they're just not their mission. But so what did you guys ever think of the Navy?
Well, we are a part of you during the time of war. We're actually absorbed into the Navy during the time of war.
That's reassuring. I'm glad to hear that.
And we basically become just like you. That's why our ranking system is the exact same as the Navy, as far as seaman up to Master Chief Petty Officer.
Yeah. What changes would you like to see in the Coast Guard, if any?
I think if the Coast Guard continues on their modernization goals, just keep on building new cutters and to meet the needs of the 21st century.
Peyton, you stumbled on something there. During wartime, your whole concept changes, is that right? Or
as far as concept, I haven't been in during a time of war.
Yeah.
I would say that, one of the big things they tell us in boot camp is, a name that harps over and over is the only Coast Guardsman to ever receive the Medal of Honor was Douglas Monroe, and he was working on landing crafts coming in and picking up some Marines, and he basically died in action, but he saved, I don't know, probably like 50 or 60, something like that, Marine lives in the process. And during that time, they were on your landing crafts and working the machine guns on board.
Did you say he was on an LST? Or
it was one of the things where the thing dropped.
it was either a large LST or probably a LCU, which is a smaller version. The front end drops down and they try to get out. There is an LST up at Evansville.
Was that recently? That was here in Paducah not too long ago, wasn't it?
It was here, and we actually went up and did a show about it, and it was a very interesting program. I had not, and I saw these face to face just about every day in Vietnam, but we never had time to sit there and gawk at them. There's things going on. But I was amazed at how large and how much material and men they could put into an LST.
Right.
And they were indeed the backbone of trying to land troops ashore. And so you all don't have anything like that?
Not like that unique platform.
Yeah.
There's buoy tenders, which are kind of more flat bottom for stability purposes, and then the patrol boats.
Are you involved in any way with this oil slick down in New Orleans, or I don't know where it's headed now, probably?
We do have personnel detached from our unit, and that they're currently helping down in the Gulf right now. So as that unfolds, and as the solicitations come in for more help, I assume more of us are going to be heading that way.
Yeah. If we had an oil slick here in Paducah, would you be able to take care of it, or what if we had a similar situation? What would you do?
That would definitely be handled by kind of a coordinated effort between our unit here and any oil spill response organizations that are going to help by responding and providing the actual containment boom to collect the oil, and then maybe skimmers or vacuum.
Do we have some of that on hand now that we could respond to an oil slick immediately or near immediately?
For that, we depend on, as mentioned earlier, the oil spill response organizations. They're kind of a critical factor in there, because that's their job, is to provide assets to be able to clean up the oil. And what our role is just to ensure that that's being done adequately and effectively.
Is that one of your jobs, to check the boats that are tied up on the river, make sure they're not leaking?
Definitely is one of their jobs, is to visually inspect them, make sure there is no sheen coming off it, no oil products leaking off of them. Yes.
Well, Peyton, you plan on putting in 20 years?
Actually, yes. I just signed up for my extension for another 2 years, because I'm about 90 days short of my 4-year enlistment. And I'll do another 2 years, and then probably sign up for another 4 after that. By that time, I might as well just keep going.
Might as well. You've come too far to turn back now. So what do you want to tell me about the Coast Guard that maybe we haven't covered today?
Well, I just, it's a great opportunity for anyone that's looking to get into an armed force. The experiences and things I've learned since I've, joined, definitely things I wouldn't trade for the world.
Yeah.
And definitely got to get out there and see the world at the time being.
Do you plan on that you're going to be stationed overseas? Or are you looking to go overseas perhaps? And
if the solicitations come out, so far they're not coming out that much anymore, but you do have opportunities to go. Usually with going overseas, you get sent to maybe like a cutter, on the Pacific, out in Hawaii, and you'll be in like Japan doing South Pacific patrols and all that kind of stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But
sound like a Westpac cruise.
yes.
Go over there and you go around the Asian Rim and visit and whatnot, and bring goodwill and cheer, and you leave broke and unhappy. Do you think that this area in here will be expanding in the future? Do you think the need is becoming more due to the large number of boats that are coming up and down the river now?
Absolutely. Right now the Coast Guard's actually opening up a center of expertise for the towing industry. The grand opening is actually Saturday, and it's going to have its ribbon cutting ceremony, and then go down and lay a wreath in the river for Seamen's Church as well.
What is the biggest danger that you face on more or less daily basis? What is the thing that's always a threat out on the water?
It really depends what our mission is. If we go out with a mission of law enforcement, there's an inherent danger with that, just because you go armed with a law enforcement mindset. But if your mission may be the next day to go inspect some barges or a towboat, and there you just have to kind of literally just watch your step and be careful for slips, trips, and falls, and it's just an inherently dangerous environment out there.
But if Paducah ever flooded like it has in other places, and you guys will be here to help us?
Absolutely.
Good. That reassures me, because I can't swim, even though I was in the military.
I'll be there at your front door of the boat.
Even being in the Navy, I somehow didn't learn how to swim very well. But I knew somehow that I'd be on shore duty the whole time, so I lucked out on that anyway. Maybe that's why I was on shore duty. I couldn't swim, but I appreciate it anyway. Anything else you want to bring up that we haven't covered yet about the Coast Guard, its mission, its people?
I think we're looking forward to a new next few years under a new leadership, because our commandant Thad Allen is being replaced, or he's retiring and going to be replaced by Admiral Papp. So we'll see how the new leadership trickles down and maybe affects.
So your command goes all the way up to an admiral? You have an admiral on the Coast Guard?
The commandant, yes.
Yeah. Well, you got me confused. Is the commandant the highest ranking officer in the Coast Guard?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. But he is also an admiral?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'll go home ponder that one out. But if I ever see him or her, I'll salute him anyway. But, well, it sounds like you guys are doing a great job. And it is reassuring to know that you're out there with eyes awake while, you know, we're trying to live a normal such life. Have you had any terrorist or anti-terrorist training since all the stuff that's happening in the world?
Yes, I went down to the Federal Law Enforcement Academy last year, and I had some training with a lot of federal law enforcement training agencies, and did a lot of vehicle security checks for when MARSEC levels raised, in case someone tries to bring suspicious items or potential destructive items into basically areas that could cause a lot of health problems, or like a giant bomb. And did a lot of PWCS as well, and we did a lot of.
What is that?
Port waterway security, and I don't know if you remember it. I did a ship that's been it was in the Navy, Cape Chalmers.
I don't
If that
remember.
rings a bell. It was a supply ship during Vietnam, and now it sits in Port of Charleston, and we use it as a training platform.
Well, Tom, Peyton, it's been good to have you all with
Thank
us
you, Mike.
today.
Appreciate
I'm
that.
sure you've enlightened me a lot and the audience a little bit, but we were glad to have you, and you keep up the good work out there. And I think Paducah citizens and around the area can be reassured that if something breaks loose in the middle of the night, that there'll be somebody there to take care of the situation and protect us. And for me personally, I thank you for your service, your contribution to your nation, and we wish you Godspeed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Mike.